Hi, everyone, and welcome to this fifth Joystream community update. It's been a short while, more specifically about 4 months since we put out any official public communication. So that's a long time in the lifespan of the project, and I think a lot of people have been looking forward to us to share more about what we're working on, what's coming down the pipe, and so I'm very happy to be able to do that. The agenda for this call. I'm just sitting on calls all day, so I just think everything's a call when I see my face on the screen. The agenda for this this update is that I want to cover why it took so long, and I think the reason I want to cover that is really because there are a lot of people that are putting in a lot of effort on our testnets currently. A lot of people in our working groups, in our councils. Putting in a lot of effort with all the different processes we have. A lot of people are part of our founding member program, and so everyone's really eager to understand more about what's happening, what does the future look like, what features are coming, when is mainnet, all this kind of stuff. And so since it's been so long, I feel like I do owe you a little bit of a story about why that is. So I'll cover that. Then I want to go into what we actually have been doing, and how some of that is going to be materializing over the next few short months. And then I want to cover just what I'm going to be focusing on communicating next. And I think it would be super valuable if people could indicate sort of among the different topics that I have in mind, what they think is the most valuable, because to me it's not entirely clear. So I'll just do it in whatever order I think seems most valuable to people, somewhat constrained by where I'm able to actually give the most information at any given time. All right. So why the radio silence? It's really been a conspiracy of three different factors, I think. One is that we've been working on 3 pretty epic size releases for some future testnets. 2 of those networks will actually land within 5 or 6 weeks of one another, as far as we can tell. That's never been the case before, in particular for networks of this size or updates of this size. One of those releases has been more than a year in the making, and another has been at least 5 months at this point. So a lot of work has gone into them, and coordinating all the complexity that happens across those, as well as the third release that I'm also going to be describing is really non-trivial exercise for us, in particular because we're doing so many new things in each one of them. Another reason is that that's not actually everything we're doing, even on a product and technology level. We're doing a lot of things that are not streamed for specific releases right now. They're just sort of enhancements that are either put into production right away, or they're going to be put into production in the future. And I'm not going to be able to really even cover much less than half of what that is, just in the interest of keeping this video a reasonable length. But suffice to say, those 3 network releases don't even cover everything we're doing at the product level. Then I want to cover, well, actually, I do not want to cover, I just want to mention that we have actually concluded a financing round. That does take a non-trivial amount of time to land and get together. Actually, I was a bit conflicted about whether I should even share this, but since I regard these videos as primarily targeted as sort of hardcore Joystream insiders, I don't think it's a big issue. The specifics about what that round involves and implies will be coming out at a later time, hopefully not too long. But I just wanted to share that has happened. It's in general very positive news, and it's going to help us be able to launch the network with confidence and with a lot of resources. So that's great. So those are really the 3 reasons it took a while for me to get on here and speak to you again. Hopefully it won't be that long till next time. I promise it won't, in fact. And a number of people will hold me to that. Okay, so let's dive into the specifics. So the first major network we've been working on is the Giza network. It's first in the sense that it will land first. Best estimate right now is about November 1st. And so what is the goal there? The major goal is really to launch the really quite a mature sketch of how the storage and distribution system for the content will work on mainnet. And so it constitutes a major advancement over the system we have now, which is really quite rudimentary and simple and really can't scale. If any of you have looked into it, you'll know that we have about 9 or 10 storage providers at any given time. Everyone replicates everything. It's generally a system that is not scalable, not economical. We've made small tweaks here and there when we've had to as usage has grown, but that's not really something that, we didn't think that was actually the path long term. And the Giza network sees the deployment of sort of the V2, and I would say sort of the final system for a very, very long time, for how the storage and distribution system will work. And the highlights there are really that we're going to be introducing a new role, which is the distributor role, which is someone who is responsible for delivering content on demand to end users. So that role is different from the role of simply archiving and holding on to content. So think of it as the difference between like your hard drive and your internet connection. That's sort of the semantic difference between those two systems. And so that's going to open up a lot of new opportunities for people, not only because there are new roles and there'll be a new lead opportunity, but also because there's sharding in the system, so not everyone has to do everything. So that means each participant has a smaller obligation, or we have space for much more participants. So that's going to be a tremendous opportunity for new people to start digging into a bunch of new tools, documentation. We have nodes that have been written from scratch. The storage node has been rewritten from scratch. The distributor node is obviously new. So that's going to be very exciting to have all of you try. For sure, we're going to have to iron out a bunch of issues that are going to reveal themselves post-launch. But I think we have the right basic structure to have something that scales in an economical way on mainnet. So that's a big part of what's happening in Giza. There's also going to be a bunch of smaller enhancements to how the content directory works. Actually, I should probably say, so what is the content directory and how is it distinct from the storage system? So the content directory, you should think of as sort of the list of all the channels and their content. And in the future, we'll have like the NFTs and the social tokens and that sort of stuff as well. And that's distinct from the storage system, which is like the list of all the data files, like videos and avatars and so on, that the system has to hold on to and who is holding on to them and so on. And so the content directory is now being integrated with the new storage system, and we're also adding the ability to like more efficiently, at all, deleting channels that wasn't possible before, deleting videos efficiently in the sense that you're cleaning up after yourself, removing all the assets. All of that's going to be possible. So that's, not super sexy, but that's stuff that needs to work. And lastly, we're going to be introducing 2 new operations working groups. So what are operations working groups? There is currently one operations working group, and it's really been, I'm told, because I am not able to keep track of these things given how the scale of the community at this point, but it's really been the most successful part of including high quality participants involved in like very material contributions to how the system works, and a lot of development activity has been going on there. So we really see these operations group as a major source of future founding members. And so that's why we're going to be adding 2 more of them. And so they will have their own autonomous budgets. We're going to be increasing certainly the resources that each of those groups have available, probably like quite a lot. And that's going to open up a bunch of new opportunities for people to do a variety of things, not only software engineering. Lots of things will be possible within those sort of institutional frameworks. What exactly the 3 groups should do individually, I don't think we in JS Genesis should be that opinionated about. There is some planning remaining on how much we should, in the KPI system, add our ideas about that, but probably it's going to be quite open-ended. So we're going to add 2 more of those, giving us 3 of these operations working groups. And I think also with those 2 new groups, at this point, our runtime is so big that we're starting to run into the limits of like what Substrate allows you to have in terms of the number of modules in your runtime. So we have a pretty advanced and complicated system at this point. Okay, so that's Giza. Probably needs to be a little bit faster on the next ones here. So Olympia is the next network. That's estimated for around, late November, let's say. So there we're going to be seeing the launch of Pioneer 2 finally. So what is Pioneer 2? It's the new governance product that sits on top of a totally new chain that we've also been, that's been ready for a long time, which sees us having a new type of council, new proposal system, new form, bunch of new functionality. Unfortunately, there's much more functionality in the runtime than we've been able to expose in Pioneer 2. So Pioneer 2 is like the MVP scope for what you need in order to govern the system, but it's going to be, I want to say, 2 or 3 orders of magnitude simpler and easier for someone to get into Joystream and understand the system and discover opportunities in Pioneer 2 compared to Pioneer 1, which was really borderline not usable. So I am very impressed by all the people who have been navigating that and somehow figuring out a way to use it. And I think one of the things we're going to be doing, I know that we're going to be really starting, and that's going to happen much sooner than the release date. We're going to be inviting people and probably incentivizing the working groups to start working on and participating to the implementation of Pioneer 2, because there are a bunch of features in Pioneer 2 that have been designed, things that are possible in the runtime that have been designed, but that are not fully implemented. So if you're a front-end engineer, if you want to get into front-end engineering, there's going to be a ton of tasks for you to start tackling to contribute to the development of Pioneer 2. So that's going to be really exciting to see people diving into as well. All right, and then we have the third network. This one is much more unclear exactly when we'll land, because the product side of this, which is an atlas, is still in the early stages. But this is where we're going to see the deployment of the NFT stuff that I shared I shared back when the last communications were around. I was talking about how we're going to be allowing people to issue NFTs for their videos and have auctions and all this kind of stuff. So that's coming. That's been fully completed now on the runtime side. I think literally there was like one round of reviews or something, but there's a lot of effort and time that's been spent on doing that properly. And so it's going to bring some really powerful tools for video creators to issue their NFTs. And another cool feature that also has been completed on the runtime side, but will need a little bit of time to figure out how to do an atlas, is how to have the chain pay out creators directly. So think of people getting paid for how many views they have, for example. Doing that in a scalable way is not actually very easy in a blockchain. If you have, tens, hundreds of thousands, millions of creators, you can't actually go and just pay them out in the way you could with a normal sort of centralized system. So we had devised a scheme for people to sort of do more of a pool-based cashing out of what they're owed. And that actually hooks into the storage system. And so that will allow the council. We haven't decided who's actually going to be the authority in doing the payouts. Probably the content creator lead will be the one who decides what the payouts should be for all the content creators. So that's also going to be an important part of the Rhodes network. All right, so those are the 3 big networks that are currently being developed. Then I briefly want to touch on a few things that we're working on but are not as part of any particular network right now. So one of the things I'm super excited about is seeing the new crowdfunding of bounties system go live. So the design part of that, the blockchain part was finished a long time ago. The design part is now really well underway. So what is the system? I have done a video which touches upon it. I will make a new video which goes much more in detail, but this is basically a system which takes our current bounty system, adds much more structure to it, adds crowdfunding to it. So think of something like Gitcoin plus Kickstarter, something like that, where you can have both the council or normal members contribute to funding all sorts of public goods that are valuable to the community. So the design of that has now gotten quite far. And it actually opens up a really interesting opportunity for people who have sort of an entrepreneurial mindset of, how they think they can make a profit in the system by making something for the community. There's a way for you to actually incentivize people to contribute using something called the dominant assurance contract. And if you're willing to sort of take the risk to give people that incentive, you'll also create an opportunity for you to take some profit if you're able to convince people that you can deliver what it is you want to deliver in your bounty. So I think that's going to be really amazing, and that's like the working group. I think that's going to be a really scalable way to unlock a lot of ability for people to contribute what they think is useful. And obviously, at least before mainnet, JS Genesis would be chipping in funding those bounties. I should say, it's not clear whether this will land before mainnet. I would say, in this moment, I would say I'm 87% sure that it will, but I can't guarantee it. So that's one of the things we're working on. In Atlas in general, there are all sorts of enhancements that are being worked on, some of which have landed, some of which are just about to land. I'll only cover 2 of them here, I believe. So if you have tried to do uploading after our Sumer release, certainly in the beginning, you will probably face some issues of uploads failing and you're uploading twice and all sorts of edge cases popping up, actually quite frequently. So calling them edge cases would not entirely do it justice. And we went through and revised how those upload experiences should work. And we identified a bunch of places where the product assumed that something would happen instantly. So for example, when you do an upload to a storage provider for a video that you've made, then Atlas sort of assumed that, well, if I'm finished with the upload, everything's sort of finished. But that isn't the case, because in our system, whenever something happens, it takes time for the query nodes to pick up the full effects of that, because they have to pick up the confirmations on the chain and sort of see that the upload actually has completed, and that had knock-on effects in Atlas itself in terms of giving people a reliable indication about what had finished or what hadn't finished. So, for example, you'd often see an upload that would just sort of be stuck at 100% for a very long period of time, or you would go to My Uploads and you would see a video which for a very long time had no assets, and you would try to play it back and things would fail. And so now we've covered a lot more extra sort of design states in Atlas to make it clear to the user what's happening. If you try to, for example, go to a video in the player, you're going to see, hey, you have to wait a minute, the video's being processed, which is kind of catch-all phrase, but basically means it isn't ready yet. And so that's going to prevent some of these behaviors where people would think that, hey, I need to try it again, and then they'd have 2 videos and so on. So that's going to be a big improvement to the reliability of the uploading, and it will be really helpful for people to give that a try and see if things are better on their end. Another big change, which has both sort of a product side and a community side to it, is that we're going to be bringing back categories. So those were I think taken out of the Atlas product because they really sort of didn't work. The way they were presented and navigating them was pretty difficult. And so now we've revamped the way content categories work. And I think this discovery feature is really important in the early stages of the platform, where the content catalog is much smaller. So it's going to be a much more easy way to discover content than it was before, and it's going to be a much stronger hierarchy in terms of what categories that you may want to look at, what are the most relevant categories, and within the categories itself, we're going to be introducing some really cool featuring functionality where there'll be feature videos and creators within each category, and there also will be a new way for the community, really the content creator working group, to sort of autonomously update what is the featured video, what are the feature creators in each category. So there'll probably be a bunch of KPIs around that. And interestingly, this will not go through the chain. We'll get back to the whole gateway system, but basically There are a bunch of things in Atlas that will not come from the chain. They're going to come from whoever's operating the gateway where their version of Atlas sits. And so featuring is definitely one of those things that we see as being within the purview of whoever is operating Atlas. And so that will be basically updated on the hosted instance of Atlas, which I think there's only one instance of Atlas right now, which is what we are hosting in JS Genesis. Okay, so that's going to be really interesting. This, I think, is landing within 10-day working days or something like that. So that's going to be really cool. So let me then finally get to what am I going to be talking about in the future. Obviously, I'm going to be talking about mainnet, when mainnet, what's going to be in mainnet, how. So that's definitely coming. Another question people keep asking about is the founding member program, where there are questions about how well is it working, how many people are going to get in. Seems like it's pretty hard to get into that program. We have hundreds of people waiting on the leaderboard, but not that many are making it through. So what's up with that? How does that interact with mainnet itself, and so on? So I'm going to go through the founding member program a little bit, sort of the background, goals, problems we see, different solutions that we're thinking about implementing. That's going to be something I'll be covering. Obviously, I'm going to be covering the 3 releases that I just talked about in more detail. I actually went through it in more detail than I anticipated in this video. So, but I'll make some standalone videos for that, just also to extract some of the content I covered here. I will also cover how Joystream is different from comparable alternatives in different senses, right? There's different ways you may want to compare. And so this is something people have asked about. How is Joystream different from other things? And this is one of the videos I'm really looking forward to deep diving in and being able to highlight how Joystream is different, interesting, an enhancement to many other systems that exist, but also be realistic and acknowledge how there are other offerings that are taking a different sort of bet than we are. And so giving that sort of honest appraisal is definitely one of the videos I'm personally most looking forward to giving. And then lastly, the new storage system is quite complex, has a lot of moving parts. So I will be making a video which tries to lay that out for the benefit of everyone who wants to participate in it, and also anyone who just wants to understand it. So those are the videos I have on the docket. If anyone thinks that some of them are irrelevant or some of them need to be rushed or alternative content, just let me know. I will wrap it here. So thank you very much. I will be back soon, and thank you very much.